came to
Yeah.
save you from yourself and from everything else. And
Yeah.
so how did that kind of change the trajectory? So here you are, you're really involved in all these volleyball, all these softball tournaments,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Well, I just, like I said, I realized that that, that, that I had a bigger call. There was a bigger calling on me. And it was, first of all, to be a provider and a great husband and a great father. And can you imagine if I had lost Tammy while she was pregnant? I
yeah,
mean, she was pregnant with Rebecca when all this was going down. So, it was just a critical inflection point,
yeah,
for me. Um, and that led me into, an act of service as our family grew. I got very involved with our local church. I became a lay youth pastor. I led a youth group of, sometimes we'd have upwards of 100 kids, on a Wednesday night or a Sunday night, and took them to on mission trips to Jamaica and Mexico and inner cities of the United States, and all of that, while my kids were part of that and while they were growing up. I think I tried always. Jim Dobson used to say, "More is caught than is taught,"
yeah, yeah.
and I just wanted my kids to catch as much as they could. And so I guess it worked out, because all three of our kids are believers, and many of their children are now starting to believe and get baptized, and it's like the song says, the next generation and generation,
Hmm.
and on and on and on. That's my prayer.
Yeah,
For the,
preach the gospel, and if necessary, use words.
that's
You know,
right. That's
so
that's so true.
so I want to ask you this, because it kind of goes back to what you're saying. You're saying, what's your why?
Yeah.
What is your why? So how did that start, or how did that kind of propel you and clarify for you what your why is? Because I
Yeah.
know that the why, at least in my life, is kind of morphed, especially as what I'm doing for
Yeah.
a job. That kind of changes, at least application wise changes. So,
Yeah.
so kind of
Yeah.
take us
I
on that
think I
journey,
think
because
my
I think this is really helpful again for these college guys that I'm talking
yeah.
to. You know, how do you get there? What does that look like?
I wish that I would have had someone ask me, early in my career, or when I was in college, what is your why? Because I think for the vast majority of my career, um, no one ever intentionally asked me, what is your why? I think the why was probably to pay the bills,
Yeah, yeah,
and God provided. He provided
mm,
me to, with great jobs and a great path. But I never stopped and thought through, what is my why? I was really just too busy with life, I think, to think about that. It wasn't until later, in what I call the early winter of my career, that I really had that aha moment that, we should be doing what we're doing for a reason. There needs to be a why, because I don't want to go to bed on Sunday night dreading tomorrow.
so what, just to kind of, so what brought you to that point? So you're saying in the later fall or
Yeah.
later summer,
I'll,
you
I'll
might
tell you.
live another 50 years, so
I'll,
it
I'll,
might have
I'll
been
tell you what it
summer.
was. I'll tell you what
Okay.
it was. I was part of the executive team at Scooter's Coffee. And as a result of that, I got to participate every single month on a Zoom uh, meeting where we brought in prospective franchisees.
Okay.
And we would have 30, 40, 50 prospective franchisees every month on this Zoom call. But one of the exercises, and it was a full day meeting, we were giving them all the details about franchising and about Scooter's Coffee.
Okay.
But we took a big section of that meeting every month, and we asked the franchisees, or the prospective franchisees, what is your why? Why do you want to become a franchisee?
So
And
your executives, or
yeah,
those people in Scooters, they
yeah,
were the ones that had that
yeah.
kind of
They
focus.
they they,
Okay.
they were the ones that intentionally asked the question. Our sales, our sales team, and I, month after month, I would hear these whys, and there was a lot of commonalities. People, they were wanting to get out of the corporate world, and their why was to become an independent business owner. And some of them were like, I'm trying to set up generational wealth for my children and be able to provide something for them when they, are ready to enter the work world. All types. Everybody had a different why, why they wanted to get into it. And it really clicked on me with, well, what's my why? Why am I doing this job? Why, what's my why? And so as I, ended up my time there, that was the first question I asked myself as I was retiring was, what is my why for what I want to do next? And it was, for me, it was clear that I just want to help people. So I mentor people, I coach people, and I don't charge a dime for some people. I get calls all the time from people. Hey, Bill, I got a question, or hey, what do you think about? Can I pick your brain? Absolutely. What's your question? And where some people would say, well, set up a meeting and I'll send you an invoice. I just want to help people. That's my why.
Yeah, you didn't retire. You retreaded.
Or as I call it, refired.
Refired.
Right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
stoking that fire.
Yeah.
I love that, because I would say, for me, because I was involved so long in vocational ministry, you'd think that you'd know what your why is in that. And you should.
In vocational ministry, the big why is right in front of you. I mean, your big why is to bring people to Christ.
Right.
That's your why. You want to save them, from eternal damnation. But there's probably other whys in there as well that could vary from minister to minister.
And I think in this generation that's, up into the 30 somethings, they have more of a sense of purpose. They want to make a difference. So they want to do something that isn't just necessarily, making money. They want to make a difference with what they're doing. And being able to have something even like this that helps to propel them and helps to clarify, I think is very beneficial. So let me ask you this. For those folks out there that are saying, well, this is kind of a new concept, or yeah, I've thought about it, but I really can't verbalize what my why is. Take us on a little journey of what that would look like to lead somebody down the trail, what you would encourage at this point for them to do.
Yeah. Well, if they were talking to me, we'd have, first of all, we'd have a, fresh cup of piping hot coffee, because I'm highly caffeinated.
Scooters.
Yeah. 22 years in the coffee business, we'd have to have a cup of coffee, and we would begin that conversation around trying to determine what it is. I saw a meme one time is, be passionate about what sets your soul on fire. And I would just dive deep into what is it that you feel is your calling? What is it that excites you? Not what your job necessarily is right now, but what is it that you really, really, desire to do? And then we would just continue down that path of determining, well, are there opportunities to build a livelihood around the things that you're passionate about?
Because if you're passionate about it, you
Yeah.
don't have to have somebody looking over your shoulder.
That's right. That's absolutely right. I was passionate about marketing. I really was. I mean, and I don't know why. I think it was just God planted that in me. And, in college, and I'm one of the rare breeds that actually majored in marketing and then built a career in marketing. Outside of law or medicine, a lot of people major in one thing, but they never work in that field. They do something completely different.
That would be me.
Yes.
I mean, I
Well,
majored
yeah.
in marketing, and the reason I majored in marketing is so I could learn how to market myself for professional golf.
Okay. All right.
So,
Well, but all those life experiences work together to get you where you are today.
yes,
And
yes.
uh, and so so that's I don't think that there is a cookie cutter approach, Paul, for it. I think it's just you have to have the conversation.
Well,
Um,
I think you've given some. All right. First of all, I think that you said, having somebody that's walked that road that can kind of
yeah,
walk with you and
yeah,
ask hard questions
yeah,
and keep digging until there's gold.
yeah.
And then you also mentioned, there's some books out there that are really helpful that you would recommend. One is The Motive,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's by Patrick. What's Patrick's last name?
Lincioni. Lin-
Lincioni. That's a good Italian name.
Lincioni. He needs to buy a vowel. Lincioni. Patrick Lincioni. And Patrick has a wealth of books. I mean, he's written probably 15 books,
Okay.
right? The Motive is just one of them. There's another book that I love of his, and the title of the book will scare you a little bit, but it's not what it sounds like. The title of the book is Getting Naked, but it's about being vulnerable.
Okay.
It's not about literally getting naked. It's about being vulnerable, but also
But
um,
that's scary to a lot of folks too.
it is. It
Yep.
is, yes, where you have to open yourself up
Hmm.
and let the world and expose yourself a little bit, figuratively, um, to someone. But I would also encourage um, folks at any place along their career path, but especially early. I would tell these college guys, I would say, find somebody that you respect and build a relationship. Ask them to be a mentor to you. Find a mentor.
Hmm.
Find somebody. Maybe it's a teacher. Maybe it's a professor. Maybe it's a coach. Maybe I don't know. But
Maybe
find
it's you.
somebody. Maybe it's me, right? But find someone that you can be mentored by, and will ask hard questions,
Okay.
and will hold you accountable. To
Yeah,
stuff.
that's significant.
Yeah,
It's
it really,
significant.
it really is.